My name is Yvonne O'Connor. My grandfather was a fireman on the Laurentic and his body was never found. My mum used to tell us when I was the last of the family, but she would say that her father had been lost on the Laurentic, but we didn't really know much about it. But recently, about 18 months ago, my first cousin put up a piece on Facebook that showed the plaque with my grandfather's name on it, and the piece that had been submitted with the plaque was written by a guy by the name of Killian Downing, and he had put on it that his grandfather and mother had dug this up in the 1950s in a garden on Clancy Strand in Limerick. And we got all excited because my daughter's friend said, "Oh, my grandfather has that." So we assumed that it was her grandfather who had dug it up. But it transpired, no, it wasn't. So things fizzled down for a while, and over the past 2 weeks, my cousin went and delved a little bit further as to whom had written the piece. And he Googled Killian Downing and discovered he was on LinkedIn. Now, I'm not on LinkedIn, but he took a screenshot of his LinkedIn page, and I discovered from it that Killian was an assistant archivist in the National Gallery in Dublin. So that was, we'll say, the night before. So I rang the National Gallery the next day to be told that yes, Killian did work there. He was on annual leave, and he would be back the following week. So at that point he'd be changing jobs. So I told the gentleman I was speaking to who I was, what it was about. So within half an hour, Killian had rung to say that his mum and his grandfather had actually dug up the penny. His mum had it in a drawer at home in Castleknock, and it transpired. My grandparents lived on one side of Thomond Bridge in Castle Street, which was near King John's Castle, but the penny was dug up on the opposite side of the bridge near the Treaty Stone. So we were all excited, obviously, and of course word went out that we had located the penny. So a nephew in Australia had said to me, it would be lovely to collect the penny on the actual centenary of the Laurentic sinking. So in the meantime, we discovered that how the whole thing came about was Killian asked his mum if he could investigate this. He wrote his thesis on it. He investigated through the census, etc. He submitted it to Europeana.eu, which is a digital archive collecting records of a 1914 to 18 World War, and he submitted it to them, hoping that he may be able to trace the family through that. Now, in the UK, my first cousin's son, Callum McGarry, was doing his GCSEs, and his teacher asked if any of the boys had relatives in World War One. So he told his teacher that his great-grandfather was in World War One and had gone down with the Laurentic. So they started to investigate. And Callum came across the piece that Killian had written in Europeana. So he obviously showed it to his father, who put it that time up on Facebook. But as I said, it fizzled out for a while. There 2 weeks ago, Niall put it back up with the LinkedIn screenshot, and it's from there that we carried on. Now, it so happened they weren't able to meet us on the 25th of January, but we arranged to meet in Dublin last Sunday, which was a few days before, and Niall couldn't come over from London, but he sent Callum over, and it was Callum's first time in Ireland, and it was our first time meeting Callum. So he's doing his master's now, so it was some years when this all started. Back in 2013, I think Killian wrote the piece. But it was also very poignant because my mum was born on the 24th of January 1910. So she would have been 7 the day before the Laurentic went down, and there were 5 in the family. My youngest cousin, that's Niall, he came across a photograph of our grandmother and his father, who was the youngest of that family. He was Thomas Jr. And Thomas Jr. served as a chief petty officer in World War II on a minesweeper, and he was torpedoed by a U-boat, but he survived, only losing a toe. So, you know, the connections have been so poignant. My brother lives in Cornwall. He served as a radio officer with the British Navy, or Merchant Navy, I'm not sure. I think he was with the Admiralty as well. And his family live in Plymouth. So I sent all the emails on to him that Killian had sent me, and he emailed me back and he said, coincidentally, he said, Sue, the girls and I are laying a wreath on Wednesday morning at the War Memorial on Plymouth Hoe, where my grandfather's name is actually inscribed. So the whole thing just snowballed. We had to come up from Limerick for the centenary celebrations, and Don McNeil had given me all the information. So, as my husband said, it won't happen in our lifetime again. So, you know, it's just absolutely, and to think that we actually went out to the site of the wreck was just unbelievable. You know, I keep saying, my mum used to tell us that there's a purpose in the way things happen, and definitely there was a purpose in this, because I feel if we had located it 18 months ago, this wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have been here today, and it was just overwhelming. That's all I can say about the whole thing. Overwhelming. Words just can't describe how we feel. It's, you know, I can't believe that I actually had a wreath thrown into the sea over the wreck. I mean, it's going to be etched in my memory